Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Simply Delicious. You're watching this on the At Home with Rashad Terry Network on YouTube, and I simply cannot wait to show you what we have in store for you today. We are going to be making holiday cookies with walnuts, nutmeg, rolled oats, ginger with a twist for the holiday. They are absolutely divine, and it's something that you're going to want to pull out for every holiday season. We also will be making a pound cake with a holiday twist. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but right now we're going to get right into it with our holiday cookies. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to preheat our oven to 350 degrees. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to prepare our dry ingredients. There are so many ingredients that go into this cookie. So I advise you to make sure that when you're cooking this, you go to rashadterry.com/at-home-with-Rashad. And you can print out any of the Simply Delicious recipes. So during the holiday seasons, if this is something that you're wanting to do every season, having a lot of flour is going to be imperative for your baking. So little jars like this, I pull it out every holiday season, whether it's for flour or whether it's for treats or whatever. It's just my favorite jar that I've had for like maybe 5 years now, and I use it just simply to make sure that I have what I need. This year it's for flour. So into your dry ingredients bowl, you're going to take 1 cup and 3/4 of flour. And if you're struggling trying to figure out the math, if you just take 1 cup of flour and then you take the 1/4 cup, if you just take 3 of these, that's going to be your 3/4. Next, we're going to mix in a teaspoon of baking soda, a teaspoon of baking powder, and a teaspoon of fine sea salt. Then for a little bit of holiday spice, you're going to take your ground cinnamon, ground nutmeg, and ground ginger. Next, you're going to take your whisk and give this a whisk so that those ingredients are equally dispersed together. You will smell a ton of the ginger. It smells absolutely delightful. Keep in mind that any of these ingredients, if you don't like ginger, if you are allergic to ginger, you don't like the taste of nutmeg or cinnamon, you can exempt any of those ingredients, one or all, and it will just simply make the same cookie without the holiday spice. Part of this recipe I got from one of my cousins. She was the baker of the family, and sitting at my aunt's house watching her bake all of the time really struck an interest. And from sitting watching her, I learned a lot about making cookies and cakes and cupcakes and all different types of things. This is actually part of her recipe, and I kind of switched it up and made my own into it to make these holiday cookies. She typically does the walnuts, the rolled oats, the chocolate chips, and that's it. So I'm just adding a few other things. I'm making mine slightly a little bit sweeter, just because these cookies would be great for gifts, like little sweet nothings for people. You can wrap them in cute little clear wrapping and put like a little bow on it. You can make baskets with them. Just a ton of things that you can do with these cookies. Okay, so now that that is completely immersed, now we're going to mix our wet ingredients in a separate bowl. base of our wet ingredients is going to be 2 sticks of butter. You want to make sure that your butter is room temperature and softened. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to whip and mix. You're going to take your granulated sugar. You're going to take your brown sugar. So once you've added your granulated sugar, brown sugar, and egg, you're going to whip that until it's light and fluffy. Just to scrape some of your ingredients off the side. That way they all get mixed equally and dispersed properly. But it should be fairly easy to do. Next, we're going to add 1 whole egg with its yolk. And then you're going to take another egg and you're just going to add the yolk of the egg. Which will require you to just sift out the white. That should leave you with just the yolk. Then you're going to add a teaspoon of almond extract. This is completely and totally optional, but you will need to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. The almond is optional. Go ahead and whip that together as well. So now that you have your wet ingredients and your dry ingredients mixed, now you're going to mix them both together. What's important to know here is that you gradually put your dry ingredients into your wet ingredients. So that 1, you don't get a big poof of flour everywhere, and 2, you allow those ingredients to slowly emerge together. When mixing your dry and wet ingredients together, it's important that you mix them in increments and slowly so that you don't overmix or create the wrong texture. Next, you want to, of course, taste your batter. It's not a holiday season, baking cookies, or any type of dessert for that matter, if you don't taste the batter. One of my favorite things of my childhood is when my father used to make cakes and different things for the holidays. Peach cobbler was another one of my favorites. He would give me this and let me eat all of the dough off of it. And that is simply delicious. Now we have some Belgian semi-sweet chocolate in chunks. I like the chunks because it gives you like a more, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's just when you bite down into it, you get that large chunk every now and then inside of the cookie. It just gives you something warming about it. But these chunks, when you buy it in chunks, you will have to kind of break it down just a little bit. So you want to just grab a knife and just run a knife through it really quickly, just to break it down some. And now what you're going to do is you're going to just fold this into your cookie. And this was 1 cup of chocolate. And just like your wet and dry ingredient mixture, you want to make sure that you gradually fold your chocolate in. Next, we're going to take our toasted walnuts straight out the cast iron, and we're going to fold those in. The way that I toasted these is simply by taking just maybe a half a teaspoon of olive oil to coat the bottom of the cast iron, putting the walnuts in, and just giving them a nice toss on the heat. So you may be wondering, how is he able to touch the cast iron um, if it's hot? Once you toast your walnuts, you want to make sure that you let them fully cool down, because you don't want warm walnuts to melt the chocolate that you're folding into the cookies. So once you have fully mixed your batter and had a full arm's workout, now you're going to take some parchment paper and place it on there. You're going to roll it into a roll as if you got the cookies from the store. Pop them in the freezer for about 10 to 15 minutes so that they harden and cool down. And then they're ready to be cut and baked. Okay, so now that we have rolled our cookie dough inside of our parchment paper and gave it a nice form, it doesn't have to be perfect because they're going to melt into their own form anyway, but you do want them to be in some sort of circular or cylinder form. What I'm going to do is just give them a roll, and then we'll open our cookie dough, and it should be just almost as if you got it from the store. Here I have some parchment paper on my cooking sheet. You can take some scissors, and on each corner of your parchment paper, just create a slit. And what this will do is make it easier to get your actual parchment paper inside of your pan. I want my cookies to be kind of thick, so what we're going to do is give them a roll into a ball, and we're going to set them about maybe 2 inches apart from each other. So we're cutting them in 2-inch. You can cut them way more thinner than I am, but I want some nice hearty cookies for the holiday. I believe there's nothing like having like one of those humongous cookies as a sweet treat on the holiday. Don't nobody want no small cookies. Okay, so right before you pop them in the oven, just going to take some pink sea salt, sprinkle right on the top. It's going to give you this nice bite the minute that you bite right into your cookie. You're going to place these in the oven for about 12 to 13 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You're going to let them cool on a baking rack for about 5 minutes, and then they're ready to serve or enjoy. Okay, so now that we've let them rest for about 5 minutes, they are cool to touch and ready to enjoy. What you can do is arrange your cookies in a way that is appealing to your guests, or you can put them in a jar, whatever you will, however you'd like. That's a good cookie. Alright, so now we are going to move into our pound cake. So the first thing that you want to do is start by adding your 4 sticks of butter, and then you're going to do 2 3/4 of a cup of sugar, so that's 1 cup, and again 1/4. You're going to do 3 of those, and that will equal out to your 3/4 of sugar. You're going to blend that or whip that with your mixer until it is nice and fluffy. Next, we're going to add our 6 eggs into our butter and sugar mix, but you want to make sure that you add each egg in individually and whip it in individually so that you make sure that the eggs are nice and whipped. Do not try and do 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 4 at a time. It's imperative that you do 1 egg at a time. Now we're going to mix our dry ingredients together. So we're going back with our all-purpose flour. And you're going to take 4 cups of your all-purpose flour. And you're going to sift it so that it's nice and fine. Once you've fully sifted your powder, then you're going to take your baking powder, your nutmeg and cinnamon, and your salt. Again, refer to my recipe down below if you would like the exact measurements of all of these ingredients. And you're going to equally disperse those ingredients just like we did with the cookies. Sifting the flour first makes good for you to, when you add all of those other ingredients, to make sure that they really nicely equally disperse. Alright, so the final phase of baking your beautiful pound cake is to wipe with a paper towel. You want to wipe with a paper towel with some butter or some olive oil, and then you're going to use some flour and give your flour, put your flour inside of your pan, and you're going to give it a nice coat. Tap the excess away. This gives your pans a nice non-stick effect. I learned this from my dad when he. And then you're just going to load your batter into your pans. Once this is loaded, you're going to cook your cakes for 1 hour and 15 minutes if it's a whole cake. You want to be very quiet as your cakes are baking so that they don't fall. That was a thing every holiday season in my house, was we all had to sit down while the cake was in the oven so that it wouldn't dry. I kind of feel like that was just my daddy telling us to sit on the hell down, but there's definitely some truth to it because I've heard it from so many other people about the cake dropping. So any loud bangs and loud stomping or running can cause your cakes to drop. And then you can just kind of hit the sides of the pans of your cake so that they equally disperse into the actual pan properly. You're going to bake them for 1 hour, hour and 15 minutes, depending on the size of your pan, and you're going to let them rest for about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and then you're ready to flip them onto the plate and start your icing. So when I put these in the oven, I'm going to come back and show you how to make the icing. Okay, so now we're ready for a simply delicious icing. So it's really simple, minimal ingredients. Stop buying your icing from the store and those pre-made. They put all this other stuff in there and it's really this simple. You're going to take 3 tablespoons of milk, You can do 2 depending on how creamy you like your icing. I want mine a little bit thicker, so I'm choosing to go a little bit less. If you do 4, it's going to get a little bit more watery, which is totally fine. To each its own. Then you're going to take half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then this is a twist for me. I don't know if you guys know, but this is one of my favorites. This is the butter pecan maple syrup. They have just the maple syrup, but I'm going today with the butter pecan maple syrup. We're just going to use 1 tablespoon amount. This is just going to make it a lot more creamy and smooth. It smells so good. Oh my gosh. And you're just going to give that a stir. So now we've let our cakes fully cool. Now all you're going to do is take your plate, fold it over. It should easily lift right out if you have properly floured and buttered your batter. It should be seamless in its efforts to get it out. Now all that's left is to take a little bit of your icing that you made earlier. You're just going to drizzle your icing across. As I said, I like a thicker icing. I don't like a ultra thin icing because it allows it to kind of run a little bit better, in my personal opinion. Okay, so now with our loaf pound cake, we're just going to go with a little bit of confectioner's sugar through a sifter. Just to give it a little bit of holiday cheer. Everybody's not going to love the butter pecan icing. So what I like to do is provide some options. You could do a variety, make less icing, make one with just vanilla extract, make one with butter pecan, maple syrup, and then you can have your third option where you just have some confectioner's sugar over the top. Some people like to eat their pound cake with ice cream. Now that's one of my father's favorites. He loves to eat some butter pecan with the pound cake. So I think he would really love the butter pecan. But to each its own. Either way, you have some sweet treats for the holiday. This was episode 2 of Simply Delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please make sure that you like, rate, comment, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments below what exactly are the sweet treats that you love to eat for the holiday. Season's greetings. See you on episode 3.